I'm not playing the cleric.
Well, I'm not playing the cleric.
Are you gonna play the cleric? No.
No, they're the worst.
Someone has to play the cleric.
Not me. I did it last time.
Why do we have 4 rogues and no clerics?
Hi, I'm Teal.
And I'm Dylan.
And we're Phoenix Down.
RPG.
Obviously, today we are doing a dive into the new Clerics with Xanathar's Guide to Everything. There's always the misconception that Clerics are a very boring class, and no one ever wants to play the healer. Yeah. I mean, who wants to just help other people? You want to do some other powerful stuff yourself as well.
Yeah, it's not as fun empowering other people to be heroes when you could be a hero.
Unless you're a bard.
Yeah, but when you're a bard, you can just, I can do everything.
It's true.
Clerics, they fill a niche, and a lot of times people throw that niche into healing, but obviously that is not the case, because I think only the wizard has more options than the cleric as far as subclasses.
We'll check on that.
Yeah. I'll do the run by numbers real quick. You'll see it probably floating down right about here. So yeah, the cleric, Xanathar's Guide. So in many ways, they got one of the least amounts of love, I guess you could call it, from wizards with this new domains. We did get 2, and we're going to talk about those. But because there's a little bit less to talk about as far as clerics go, we're going to talk about some of their spells.
Yay, spells!
Also, they kind of got snubbed a little bit, maybe?
Hey, they got some really good spells.
They did. The spells that they got are great, but the list that they added, pretty short, but it's a pretty good list. And, I don't know, I love playing clerics, so more options, please. So, let's just hop right into it.
Alright, at the beginning of the Cleric little chapter, we get some more options like we did with the Sorcerer, where you can roll for the Temple, the Keepsake, and their Secret.
Secrets.
So, why don't we start this off with a good roll? Where'd that D6 go? There it is.
Found it.
So we are rolling for the Temple.
Temple!
And a 1. Your temple is said to be the oldest surviving structure built to honor your god.
It's true. I, work in, pretty much the fanciest, most important sacred site in all the known world.
It's a really nice choice to add just a little bit more flavor to your character and their backstory.
Yeah. I mean, I feel pride knowing that was the oldest site. Maybe that's where my god touched Earth for the first time. I mean, so many possibilities.
And that can affect how your relationship with the god and how you talk about them to other characters. So great for role playing. Let's jump into the Keepsake. What special item does our cleric have? A braid of hair woven from the tail of a unicorn. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so maybe, one of the gods that likes unicorns, If you didn't have a direction before, maybe you do now.
Gilmore. Oh, no, wait, he's not a god.
Well, I mean, he's glorious like a god.
Some of the other options include a finger bone of a saint, a metal-bound book that tells how to hunt and destroy infernal creatures. That can be useful. Jinx. A pig's whistle that reminds you of your humble and beloved mentor.
Yeah.
A scroll that describes how best to rid the world of necromancers. That's very important too. Lots of necromancers.
That can be really awkward considering maybe... Well, no, I guess it kind of does fit with the domain that they added. The name The Grave makes me think necromancy, but the actual grave domain really has nothing to do with necromancy.
Alright, so let's go on to the best part, the secret. What kind of secret does our cleric have?
The really good kind.
A 1. Ooh, I like this one.
Yeah, so, oh man, this kind of points you in a direction maybe with some feat options. An imp offers you counsel. You try to ignore the creature, but sometimes its advice is helpful. I mean, if I was a player and I got this, I'd be like, Magic Initiate, find familiar, bam. Now it's a real thing. It's not just ink on a page.
Yeah.
This is following me around everywhere.
But there's some other great options that you can roll as well, like you're plagued by nightmares that you believe are sent by your god as punishment for some unknown transgression. That's pretty dark.
That's like almost Warlockian, like, do my bidding. I mean, it is a god.
In times of despair, you feel that you're but a plaything of the gods, and you represent their remoteness.
You resent their remoteness. Yeah, I mean, the thing about clerics more so in 5th edition than older editions is they don't technically have to be like a priest. Like, they can just kind of be chosen, in a sense. It's... Imagine just being a dude or a gal who is walking around and a god's like looking down from their cloudy keep and they go, that is my avatar. That is my conduit to my people. And they shoot off a spark of brilliance and suddenly you're empowered.
Yay.
I mean, you could play it that way.
Well, but it's interesting to, again, break you out of the traditional roleplay options that you might be doing before.
It's true.
Just to spice it up a little bit, have some more fun.
Yeah.
So I like these tables.
Yeah, tables are good.
Right, off to our first subclass of the Clerics. Drum roll!
I'll add it in. The Forge Domain.
So 4G.
What's that about?
Well, are they rogues?
No, I don't think they're good at sneaking around.
But they forge stuff, right?
Oh, they're really good with the pin. No, they're really good with metal. We're going to do a quick run-by-run of the Unearthed Arcana versus what's actually printed in the book. In this case, the domains are pretty close to exactly what was in the Unearthed Arcana with
just
some
a tiny bit tweaks.
Small nerfs and even an occasional buff.
Seems like a fun cleric to play. But anyway, before we talk about that, let's actually jump into what the Forge domain is like. Okay,
so it's kind of that whole idea, and I'm surprised Forge domain didn't actually make it into the player's handbook because it's kind of iconic, especially when you think of dwarf clerics, which have a long and varied history with D&D.
People love to play dwarves.
And you know, the big god in Forgotten Realms, the big god of dwarves, the big god of forges is Moradin, the Soul Forger. I might have that name wrong, but we'll find out. And then that whole idea of this creator god who is a smith, this whole idea of dwarf clerics trying to be like their primary god. And no domain fits Moradin better than Forge. It's all about forging things.
Being a smithy.
Creating things, imbuing magic into things. The spell list reflects it. The features reflect it. It is dripping with flavor.
Dripping with flavor? Oh.
Oozing with flavor. Oh yeah, it gets better. I'm sure I could go one worse, but I'm not going to. All right, so let's look at the domain spells. And it's mostly the same. There's one change.
And it's the first level spell.
Okay.
So at first level in Unearthed Arcana, you get Searing Smite and Shield. But in the Forge domain in Xanathar's Guide, we get Searing Smite and Identify. So just a tiny little bit of a tweak.
Shield, great spell, fantastic spell. Helps you not get hit, but the Forge Cleric, as we will soon discuss, is a rather hard thing to hit. So it's not crucial for them,
They're pretty sturdy.
And Identify, great having that as a freebie, especially considering it's a ritual spell. Clerics get ritual casting. And it makes sense that a person that spends all their time working with magical weapons can look at a magical weapon and go, this is that.
They might know what it is.
That's a +2 flame tongue dagger.
Or maybe they know the items that are cursed.
I never reveal cursed things.
Well, it depends.
They'll figure it out.
Yes, they'll figure it out. Much like some of my players in Dragon Ballad.
It's true.
But anyway, going back to our divine.
Yeah, Searing Smite. Love it. You know, give this cleric a little bit of, you know, that paladin flavor. You know, that ability to just hit something and actually do a good amount of damage, because most clerics, I know that it was like a design that they were supposed to be like that optional front line. I'm going to go hit things with my mace or my sword or whatever. But that's just not where clerics tend to shine. They can do that. They can do it.
Especially life clerics.
And they are hardy. But they will never do great damage in comparison to any of the other martial classes. Not on the same.
Like a barbarian.
Not like a barbarian. Definitely not like a rogue, and definitely not like a paladin. Despite having some class features that do allow them to mimic some of that. So Searing Smite, you know, it's maybe it's possible. There might be a build here in this class for a martial paladin that could actually do pretty good. So, 3rd level spells. We get Heat Metal and Magic Weapon. Heat Metal, love this spell. I keep on taking it with my characters and then never getting an opportunity to use it because I keep on waiting to fight people that are wearing armor to throw it on them, because that is just a cruel and wonderful use of that spell. And then you just fight monsters and they have no metal components. Just like, oh, I don't have that spell I really need because I have Heat Metal.
But there's a lot of multi-use abilities with that spell.
Yeah.
It allows for the players to be creative. I encourage creativity on my tables.
Magic Weapon, same thing. Allows you to like imbue your weapon with more magic.
Makes sense. You build stuff. You're good at that.
It's
a thematic spell.
It's a thematic spell.
I like it.
It's not one of my favorite spells personally, but well, we get kind of the next thing at the next level, and you know, there's a theme here. 5th level.
That is true. Is that one of the other abilities that you get is related to that magic weapon? So maybe giving it as a spell in addition. It's just a little much, but I still like the flavor. So
5th level, we get Elemental Weapon. Very similar spell. Protection from energy. Good spell.
Good.
It's a good spell.
People never use it.
No. Once again, people tend to go with damage-oriented stuff and stuff that allows them to do more damage.
It's good to have a mix of spells.
Yeah, no, I like buff spells, and that's one of the reasons why I like clerics. And druids. So here we go. 7th level, Fabricate. Great spell. And I'm almost positive, well, maybe it's on the cleric list. I don't think it's on the cleric list. I know it's on the wizard list.
Let's solve that debate with our player's handbook.
It's thematic, you know, the whole idea of the Forge Cleric is they create things, and it's kind of odd how they kind of throw in that whole creating thing. And you're kind of like, you magically just wave your arms and you throw some coinage in there, and the value of your coins suddenly equals the item that you created, and it's all magic. Fabricate literally does that pretty much. Create something out of thin air.
And it is not on the cleric spell list, so it's an additional spell.
Yay! So Fabricate fits within their theme of what Forge Cleric should be. It's kind of odd, the channel divinity feature they throw in, but we'll get to that. So we also get...
So the other spell we get at 9th level is Wall of Fire. It's a good way to toast s'mores. It looks really pretty.
And defeat all your enemies and keep them from attacking you and obscuring archers. And, well, you know.
And it's toasty warm so you can cuddle.
Yes. It's a good spell. It sort of fits the theme. You know, forge, fire, sure, yeah.
There's fire in a forge.
Walls, you build those. Stretching it.
Well, you push the fire out and it just... then there's a wall.
Alright, so we also have 9th level, animate objects.
Again, thematically, makes sense.
Yeah. Creation. Oh, once again, the whole idea of creating things.
So
shocking,
all the spells
thematic.
are really based on building.
So
makes sense. So the rest of those spells, besides the swapping shield for identify, were the same between Unearthed Arcana and Xanathar's Guide.
So then we move on to our bonus proficiencies.
Yay!
Or proficiency.
In Unearthed Arcana, you gain the proficiency
with heavy armor.
With heavy armor.
So once again, it's that whole idea of kind of being a hardy cleric. Some of the clerics were less hardy, like
knowledge.
Yeah.
You played a knowledge cleric and loved it.
Yep. He was awesome.
So in Xanathar's Guide, you get that, but you get a little bit more. You get proficiency with smith's tools.
Why wasn't this in the Unearthed Arcana? Well, maybe that's why it's here now, because they realized they made a mistake. It just makes sense. Yeah, like
hello.
I'm the cleric of Morden, but I don't know how to use tools.
So you're not a smithy? Why aren't you a smithy?
I like beer and things that are created.
Oh, so you don't do the creating. It creates for you.
No, I drink my beer.
Oh.
And
great cleric.
I pray. So it's here now. Yay! And you know, it's necessary.
It's something that might not really come up in every game or even every campaign, but sometimes it's good to know, hey, I actually can do this.
Tool proficiencies. Will they be used?
They should be explored a little bit more.
It's up to the players, really.
And the DM.
They have to actually, initiate using their tools in either obvious or creative ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, glad that that's here. We also get Blessing of the Forge.
At first level, you gain the ability to imbue magic into a weapon or armor. Oh, hey, look, it's like one of the spells we have. At the end of a long rest, you can touch one non-magical object that is a suit of armor or a simple or martial weapon. Until the end of your next turn, or until the end of your next long rest, the object becomes a magic item, granting a +1 to AC if it's armor, or a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls if it's a weapon. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. So it's the same between Unearthed Arcana and Xanathar's Guide, except in Xanathar's Guide, they added the stipulation that if you die, it also goes away.
Yeah, it's kind of like a death concentration?
Yeah. You concentrate on it with your soul?
You know, I'm...
With your prayers?
It seems unnecessary to me. If it's a temporary magic, then I guess the magic is flowing from the cleric, but it's divine?
Well, it makes sense that it wouldn't stay around if the cleric was dead.
I know, but it's gonna go away anyway. I guess the whole idea is it would never go away, but that could actually be kind of a really cool moment. Player character dies, Thelamorn, take my shield. And he makes it magic, and then he dies in some tragic, heroic way, and then Thelamon carries the magic +1 shield of the Cleric of Moradin for the rest of his adventures.
Well, maybe that's a way that the DM can change the rules just a little bit, because these aren't black and white rules where you just have to follow them to the letter. They're guidelines. You can play around with it and have fun.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool to come back to the table with a different character and hear the story of that magic shield that my actual character played but with a new character's perspective, going, ooh, who's this cleric? He made a magic shield?
Good thing I didn't play a cleric.
So, you know, I've read and heard some rumblings about some people thinking this feature is really powerful and other people thinking it's really not because of, you know, X, Y, and Z when you're 5th level and everyone has magic items. Ooh, a magic +1 ability, but this is +1 at level 1. Like, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
I can see why some people could be less than thrilled with it if they're playing, like, you know, I don't know, a level 11 character and they have lots of magic items. But
+2s.
Once again, you know, this game doesn't technically account for rich magic worlds. It's kind of left up to the Dungeon Master to figure that out. And some games may have a bunch of magic, other games might not. So
it depends on how nice your DM is.
So, like, one of the things that people complain about it is, well, you can turn a non-magical item into a +1, but this doesn't account for turning a magic +1 weapon into a magic +2 weapon.
I think that's their way of keeping it from getting too powerful. So I actually like that you can't keep just stacking on the pluses.
I know, but I'm just saying, I could see why someone would homebrew this to allow for it. It just depends on how prevalent magic is. If it's not if by level 10 everyone has maybe one item, which is not typical of most games that I've seen, this is a really powerful ability. If by level 10 people are shuffling around their attunement slots because they have so many items, this item is basically worthless. And that's what I don't like about this ability, is because through error on the DM's part, a key feature of this class can become very weak.
No, but then you can use it to help NPCs and roleplay with that idea. So it's not lost, you just use it in a different capacity. So yeah. I still like that it has a capping point.
Yeah, I mean, imagine you have a keep and you have a captain of your guards and you're just like, hey dude, I need you to protect my place while I go to the market, and magic sword.
Or what if you're protecting a king or queen?
Yeah. And magic robes. Magic crown.
Exactly. So a little bit of a split ideas on that, but overall still really good. Moving on to the second level, Channel Divinity.
So it's pretty much the same. They just clarified how long the ritual is. So starting at second level, you can use your Channel Divinity to create simple items. You conduct an hour-long ritual that crafts a non-magical item and must include some metal. It can be a simple martial, it can be a piece of armor, it can be ammunition, a set of tools, anything that has metal in it.
Makes sense. You make things with metal.
And this creation is complete after an hour. So no matter how complicated the simple thing is or how simple the simple thing is, it's done in an hour. Once again, this is that whole idea of magical creation versus, like, you know, using that smith tool that you have proficiency in.
It's like using haste. You do it a lot faster.
You won't get in an hour.
I said a lot faster.
Coalesces in an unoccupied space of your choice on a surface within 5 feet of you, which is... I
mean, would it appear anywhere else? You're working on it right there. Shouldn't it actually be in your space?
I guess it was to make sure no one, like, did a Looney Tunes and was like, after an hour, an anvil appears above someone's head and it drops on them. It seems kind of unnecessary to me, but, you know, maybe
they're clarifying before it becomes an issue.
Maybe people were really upset with this idea of an anvil falling on people.
I would be. I don't want an anvil falling on me.
So you can only create items worth up to 100 GP with this ability, which, at second level, I mean, 100 GP is a lot of money, so...
But if you think about further on in the class, if you get to 17th level and you can only create things that are worth 100 gold, it's a little bit less helpful, but still.
But what I do like about this ability is that it gives the player the opportunity to be creative, and some of the examples they give here is the ritual can create a duplicate of a non-magical item that contains metal, such as a key. I could definitely see this ability coming up, especially if you throw in a rogue or a bard or a monk or some other kind of ranger, someone else that can sneak around and get a key, and we can make a copy of it and
keep the copy,
get the key back, and it could be like this wonderful SEAL Team 6 infiltrating the monster's lair and stealing the treasure and then getting away scot-free because nothing ever goes wrong.
Nope, everything always goes 100% according to plan.
Yeah. No flying by the seat of our pants. All planned.
Moving on to level 6, we got Soul of the Forge.
I love that name. I don't love that they nerfed this ability. So in the Unearthed Arcana, you get a +1 to AC while you're wearing medium or heavy armor.
Super strong.
Yeah. AC's not strength.
No, I know it's not.
Oh, okay.
I don't have a shield though.
So they took medium armor away, and they're just saying Forge Domain, heavy armor. That's all Forge Domain's gonna do.
It's forcing you into that particular armor.
What I liked about that you could get this feature with medium is you could be wearing like a breastplate, have +1 to AC, have a good AC. Just got a little bit better, and you can still actually stealth around. I mean, thematically...
Stealthy clerics are useful.
Yeah, well, yeah, they are. But I also understand Forge Domain. They're like, fire, creation, tools, heavy armor. You gain resistance to fire damage, which rocks, because fire is pretty much the most common damage type that isn't slashing.
Also, you'd be around piercing. Fire all the time. Poison.
Yeah, poison and fire are the two ones that show up a lot. So that's nice. And, it's going on all the time, so passive.
Then make a trip to the 9 Hells.
And that's all that is in Xanathar's.
That's all you get at level 6.
In the Unearthed Arcana, they throw in this nice little extra thing. And it's not something that's going to come up in, most games, but when it does come up, your Cleric's going to feel pretty cool. When you hit a construct with an attack, you deal additional force damage equal to your Cleric level. Extra damage. Cool. And
that's still not going to be a lot of damage, but still.
And it doesn't specify what kind of attack. It just says an attack. So, spell attack, ranged attack, melee attack.
You know more about constructs.
Attack.
I think they took that away.
They took it away, but how many times have you run into a construct?
A door.
Yeah. I mean,
doors are the worst.
Doors are probably the most common thing that this could be used on. It's like, step out of the way, barbarian, I got this. Moradin!
Goblins are never an issue, but doors, oh my gosh, every campaign.
Oh, doors. But, maybe it's a wall, or maybe it's a golem. Maybe it's a catapult. Maybe you're sabotaging, siege equipment. I mean, this could come up. It doesn't come up very often, but it could. And
it wouldn't break the game.
It really wouldn't. I don't know why they took it away. I don't know. And then we have our 8th level ability, which, okay, I love Clerics. I really do. But the most frustrating levels when I play them is 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. It's not that you don't get good stuff, because as a full spellcaster, you're getting more spells, and that's awesome. But the wizard gets spells, the sorcerer gets spells, etc. That is one part of the class. At 8th level, they sandwich these 2 different abilities in for the clerics, and clerics get one of these 2 things, and it's either potent spellcasting, which sounds cool, but only affects your cleric cantrips. You can add your modifier to that sacred flame,
which isn't that helpful.
If they fail their save, which it's a dex save and they're not going to fail. Plus, Sacred Flame, one of the most confusing spells in the game. It's called Sacred Flame, it's radiant. That's another story.
It's not fire. It's not fire. Stop using it as fire.
I've been guilty of
that. Yes, I'm looking at you.
But the Forge domain gets the other one, which is, I guess, better.
Divine Strike. It sounds cool, again.
Yeah, and basically they can hit something with a melee attack and get extra fire damage. When you reach once on each of your turns, when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, if you make a weapon attack, you can cause the attack to deal an extra 1d8 fire damage.
And it increases at 14th level to 2d8.
Which, in this build, might actually be useful, with the whole idea of adding these kind of like paladin spells where you can like smite. I don't know, it might, this build might actually work for it. I generally do not like this ability. It shows up in like the nature domain, the life domain, the war domain, the tempest domain, and it's just like, very few clerics are going to be like, I'm going to go hit someone with my sword when they have like a 5th level spell that they can throw out. Like, I can do 40 points of damage, or I can do 12.
Yeah. So stop copy and pasting.
Yeah.
Change it up a little bit. Every cleric's different.
I can see why they might put this here, considering the player handbook has like, I don't know how many domains, but like, it's already in print, and Wizards is pretty much like, well, that's how it is. And so they're like, well, we got to do the same thing that we did for them in Xanathar's, but I don't like this feature.
Change it up. I think even just flavoring it a different way could make it seem more different than the other clerics, and therefore more unique and more fun.
Yeah. So we get to our last ability.
Capstone.
And you'll notice there's a big gap between 8th level and 17th level. And part of that is because the clerics have a lot of extra abilities, which may or may not be useful during those levels in between, like Destroy Undead, Channel Divinity, Spellcasting. Like, these are major things, and they
have a big spell list.
It's a great spell list. But we get 17th level, and this is pretty nice.
Saint of Forge and Fire.
You gain immunity to fire damage. Fire don't hurt you.
Take a vacation in the 9 hells, then.
Yeah, or I mean, you just kind of like live in your forge.
Yeah, that too. That's probably more comfortable.
You know, work on your tan.
Also, while wearing heavy armor, you have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical attacks. So this one's a little less useful. I mean, at 17th level, how many attacks are you going to get that are non-magical? Probably 0.
I mean, this can be useful. I mean, it's nice. It's extra resistances. But, you know, Capstone, it's completely passive. There's no, you know, divine radiance that suddenly bursts forth from you. It's just, fire don't hurt me. Dagger don't hurt me. Hammer don't hurt me.
Well, it's resistance, and it's only if it's non-magical. Yeah. Non-magical attacks are going to be quite a bit rare at 17th level. At 17th level, you're not fighting kobolds and goblins. You're fighting dragons and all sorts of deadly stuff that uses magic as its primary way to screw you.
Yeah, that super tough warlord that works for that lich.
Oh yeah, the lich.
He's got a big old magic axe, and he's gonna cut you in half with it, and you are not gonna take half damage.
That's gonna hurt you.
You're gonna wish you were like a barbarian or something, because this light feature is not going to do it.
I mean, immunity to fire damage is really awesome, but the other resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing with non-magical isn't going to come up really that often at level 17, so that's less useful. Overall, I think the Cleric of the Forged Domain is a very neat idea. They definitely stuck to their theme with spells and builds, so it's all about build, build, build. So it could have used just maybe a little bit more diversity in that.
And it really makes me want to play a dwarf cleric, because what's more dwarf than a dwarf forged cleric? I mean, sometimes it's nice to play into your tropes. It's also fun to like go against type.
Yep.
Maybe make like a halfling forged cleric.
That'd be adorable.
Well, maybe a wood elf forged cleric.
But I can't wait to see. I'd love to try to play a Cleric of the Forged Domain, see what it's like. For those of you that have, comment and tell us what you think of the class, what your favorite aspects are, what you would do a little bit differently.
Magic weapon at level 1.
I mean, that's pretty sweet. That is our review of the Forged Domain Clerics. Be on the lookout for more talk about clerics and other fun stuff from Xanathar's Guide.
Next time, we're covering Grave Domain and the spell list for the clerics. So you'll want to check that out when we put it up.
That's it.
See you guys.
Bye.